Welcome to Texas Die Casting. The purpose of this video is to introduce you to some of the basic information which you will need when working in the die-cast department. This presentation will emphasize the safety aspects of operating and working around the die-casting machine. After viewing this introduction to die-casting video, you should be familiar with how a die-cast machine operates. Now, let's take a closer look at some important items. For the purpose of personal safety, it is important that the die-cast operator have the proper protective equipment. It is required that the die-cast operator wear high-top leather steel-toed boots with pants leg worn over the boot. Long-sleeved shirts, preferably cotton, with the sleeves rolled down are also required. Avoid polyester or synthetic fabrics, since these may stick to the skin should they come in contact with heat. Shirt tails should always be tucked in. After approximately 60 days of employment, we will provide you with cotton long-sleeve shirts through a uniform service. Hot mill gloves are also required. Liners may be worn in addition to the hot mill gloves. Your foreman or setup man will provide you with gloves each day at the start of your shift. When a pair of gloves becomes worn out due to burns, holes, or are wet with moisture, they must be taken to your foreman or setup man for replacement. All used gloves are returned to the stockroom at the end of the shift by your foreman or setup man. It should be noted that extreme burns may result from handling castings with wet gloves, since moisture immediately turns to steam upon contact with extreme heat. You will also be required to wear earplugs to protect your hearing and safety glasses to protect your eyesight at all times in the plant. Earplugs and safety glasses may be obtained from the stockroom. Used items must be returned in order to receive new ones. We will now cover the physical environment in and around a die-cast machine, as well as alert you to some important safety issues. Remember, there should be no horseplay at any time. A furnace is located next to each of the die-cast machines. The approximate temperature of these furnaces is 1200 to 1230 degrees. Therefore, they present extreme heat and burn hazards. It is extremely important that no foreign objects be placed in the furnaces. The only two objects that a die-cast operator places in the furnace are a ladle and a skimmer. These should always be preheated prior to placement in the furnace. Moisture causes metal to erupt and explode, similar to a grease and water reaction. This is why anything that enters a furnace must be preheated beforehand. The furnace cover should remain over the dip well at all times when a machine is not in operation. When you start your shift, you will remove the cover and place it in the rack provided. Never place a cover on the floor, as it will then present a trip hazard. When you finish running the machine, recover the dip well. Due to the extreme heat of the molten aluminum, spilled metal can cause fires, serious burn injuries, concrete explosions, and equipment damage. It is important that the operator ladle the aluminum into the pour hole carefully, keeping the ladle as low as possible to avoid spillage. Consult your training manual for proper metal pouring techniques. The operator must always be aware of other people entering the area. For example, the furnace tender pouring metal into the furnace. There should only be one ladle at each machine. If there is more than one ladle at the machine, ask your foreman or setup man which is the proper ladle for the part you are running. Your foreman will return extra ladles to the stockroom. Always be sure to preheat the ladle prior to placement in the metal bath. The molten aluminum is ladled into the chamber through the pour hole. Remember, only metal goes into this hole. Never put anything else, including fingers, into this hole. When you first begin operating a die-cast machine, you should expect to experience some arm, wrist, and hand fatigue. These muscles will build up soon, and the fatigue should disappear. To reduce stress to these muscles when pouring with the ladle, it is important to hold the handle as close to the ladle as possible and use an elbow-shoulder movement instead of a wrist movement. The larger muscles of the elbow and shoulder will handle the weight of the ladle more easily. There are many hoses on a die-cast machine. To minimize confusion, we have color-coded these hoses. Water and air hoses are red. Hydraulic hoses are black. All gas hoses will be green and have push-lock fittings instead of quick disconnects. Each die-cast machine also has an emergency stop button. Learn where this button is located. If a high-pressure leak should occur at any time during operation, immediately press the emergency stop button and seek assistance from a foreman or setup man. The die spray wand, the auto tip lubers, and other machine applications are powered by high-pressure air. Should these air lines or hoses burst or get punctured, seek assistance immediately. When preparing to operate a machine, after making sure you have the proper ladle and it is preheated, you should take a close look at your work area. Following is a checklist of things to do. Make sure the die is properly preheated using a die heater. It is the operator's responsibility to make sure the spit shield is in the correct position directly over the die opening area. Ask for help to move this into the proper position if it is not already. Since the operator control panel may vary from machine to machine, it is important to know where the emergency stop button is prior to operation. Always visually check the die and machine and be on the lookout for any obvious problems. For example, if you see an exposed electrical wire, a leak, or anything that does not appear to be correct, let your foreman or setup man know immediately. Prior to beginning production of parts, the machine should be jogged or run without molten aluminum present. Do this to check for loose die clamps. The best time to observe the clamps is when the die opens. Do this by viewing the die through the window. Prior to operation, you should check to see that the shot rod and shot tip lubers are functioning properly. If you notice a water leak on the shot rod or a shot tip luber malfunction, notify your foreman or setup man for assistance. Finally, jog the shot rod to clear the chamber. Your foreman, setup man, and trainer will instruct you on how to properly run the die-cast machine. You will be expected to follow these instructions closely. The first week on the job, you will have special training as follows. The first day, you will watch an experienced operator. On the second day, you will run a machine 20 to 30 minutes at a time with the assistance of an experienced operator. All parts will be inspected to ensure that they meet quality criteria. The third day, also with an experienced operator, you will run one half of the shift in 2-hour intervals while continuing 100% inspection of parts. On the fourth day, you will run the machine for the full shift. Again, an experienced operator will assist operation and 100% inspection of parts will continue. Finally, on the fifth day, you will run a machine all day with assistance from an experienced operator as needed. Anytime you are unsure of a task, be sure to ask for assistance. The goal of our training program is to produce confident, self-assured operators. Therefore, we want to make sure that you are completely comfortable with the task at hand. Occasionally, you may be presented a document called a training aid. This document is not disciplinary action. Rather, it is our way of putting instructions in a written format. The training aid will outline a problem, its cause, and a plan for improvement and prevention. You will be asked to sign this document simply to acknowledge that you understand what it says. Another very important part of your training is your safety training manual. You will be given this book during your general orientation session. It is important that you review the entire manual thoroughly. However, please pay special and immediate attention to Chapter 1 on the die-cast machines. This chapter will further assist you in adapting to the department environment. There are review questions on all departments in the back of the manual. These questions must be answered on the form and turned in to your supervisor as soon as possible, and no later than 30 days after your orientation. The Die-Cast Training Handbook also offers guidelines, which you will find helpful in developing job skills and knowledge. All the die-cast machines have safety doors to guard the operator. However, it is imperative that all personnel are aware of the potential for molten aluminum to spray from the die during the shot cycle and machine opening cycle. For your protection, the door to the machine must be closed during the machine cycle. It is also very important not to stand in the parting line path of the die. The parting line path is the area between the die halves which open and close under pressure. This pad of metal on the runner, which is the last to leave the chamber, is called the biscuit. If this part is too large or the machine opens prematurely, the biscuit can explode, creating a burn hazard. Therefore, do not stand directly in the parting line path. There is a 15-minute cleanup time at the end of your shift. During this time, you are to perform the following duties. Turn off the machine. You must turn it off any time you leave. Also, unplug the fan and insert the die heater. Clean off the furnace dip well and return the furnace cover to its proper place. Be sure your launder is clean and clear for the next operator. Clean out any metal or castings in the pit. Clean around the chamber and shot rod area. Sweep the floors. Make sure no items have been placed on top of the furnace panel or auto ladle panel. And finally, make sure your area is neat and clear in preparation for the next operator. It is important that you do not operate any equipment which you have not been trained to operate. As a die-cast machine operator trainee, you should not have any need to operate overhead cranes, fork trucks, or grinders. Should a need arise for these items, see your foreman. We do not allow cups, bottles, cans, or disposable lighters in the plant due to the threat of explosion should these items fall into the furnace. Due to the heat in the die-cast department, die-cast operators are allowed to have a non-disposable thermos or water jug with them at the machine. It is imperative that we produce good parts which meet the requirements of our customers. Our goal is to do the job right the first time. To meet this goal, the die-cast operator will be shown certain quality criteria which must be strictly followed when producing the parts. An hourly checklist is provided for this purpose. Each part we produce is quoted to our customer based on a rate or speed of production, which is feasible for that particular part. During your first 90 days as a die-cast operator, you will be required to meet 95% of the quoted rate for a job. However, it will be your goal to achieve 100% during this time. You will be expected to improve steadily and demonstrate an eagerness to learn the job. After the first 5 months, the operator is expected to average 100% of rate each month. At the beginning of each month, a chart will be posted in the die-cast office showing the percent of rate achieved by each operator during the previous month. Refer to your die-cast handbook for guidelines on attaining rate. It is very important that you are here on time and ready to work each day. The number of operators we employ is directly related to the customer orders we must fill. Therefore, if you are not here, we cannot effectively and efficiently meet our customers' demands. Should an emergency arise and you are unable to be at work, it is imperative that you call in and let your supervisor know as early as possible, at least 30 minutes prior to your shift start time. Otherwise, you are expected to be at your machine at the start of your shift. In this presentation, we have covered many topics very quickly. During your training period, you will want to review these items with your trainer and make sure you have a complete understanding of your work environment. We are excited to have you as an employee of the Die-Cast department and a member of the Texas Die Casting team and family of employees. You will find that die casting is a very rewarding profession. As such, there are many opportunities to progress throughout the company. If you develop the attitude to be a team member, be at work every day, do the job right the first time, and always put forth your best effort, we will assist you in any way to help you be successful. Above all, remember that your safety is our #1 concern. Work safe every day and seek assistance when you need it.